Good. Well, for special meeting on Monday, January 27th of 2020, opening the meeting at 6:02. Call the meeting to order, do the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public expression on non-agendized items. The board welcomes participation in the board meetings. Comments shall be limited to so that everyone may be heard. The item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the board which are not on the posted agenda and items which have not already been considered by the board. The board limits testimony on matters not on the agenda to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes per particular subject at the discretion of the chair of the board. No action will be taken. Individuals wishing to address the board on items on the agenda will be given an opportunity to do so when the item is addressed by the board. The board limits testimony on those matters on the agenda to 3 minutes per person and not more than 10 minutes for a particular subject at the discretion of the board chair. Anyone wishing to speak may come to the podium and may state their name. Do we have any? Roll call.
Chair Whiff,
Here.
Vice Chair Marshall,
Present.
Director Horsley,
Here.
Director Baucom,
Here.
Director McNearland.
Present.
Okay, so we'll be on item 3, which is discussion and possible action regarding a resolution of the board of directors of the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District authorizing the issuance of Ukiah Valley Sanitation District wastewater revenue bonds, Series 2020, and approving the forms of and authorizing the execution and delivery of an indenture placement agent engagement agreement and City District 2020 refinancing agreement in connection therewith and authorizing certain other actions and related thereto. So I think we have been negotiating on all these issues for the last several days, and we really haven't got all of those documents finalized.
Wait, negotiating what issues?
All of the issues, the financing agreement, the indenture agreement, all of the agreements involved in this process
So-
have had some tweaking.
So we are able to refinance with a lower rate than we're paying now. We do have somebody who will issue a bond.
We do have a bid from BBVA, who is a bank from Arkansas that has a California presence, that is a very good rate. Are we able to divulge that rate?
I don't see why not. The documents are currently, there's a term sheet that's been circulated and sent out to the banks. So you can certainly explain what the parameters of those are at this point. The documents just aren't finalized yet, and there's a rate lock in place. So that part is agreed to, but anything beyond that is not yet finalized.
So how long do we have that rate lock for?
30 days, my understanding.
And what's the rate?
It is 2.43.
For how
I didn't bring that in.
So Wing C
Is that
has,
like
right,
20 years.
Dave?
Yeah.
I'm referring to.
2.48 if it's
2.42.
2.42,
It's 2.47, and if there is a joint refinancing with the city, meaning that they refinance at the same time, it drops 5 basis points to 2.42.
Well, thank you for explaining that much, because it does say in this resolution that the board of directors have been given the following documents, and there's 3 of them which we haven't been given, so,
Because they're not finished.
yeah. So
They're all still,
I think we'd feel, or I would feel uncomfortable voting on something we haven't seen, so.
well, I was vacillating on canceling this meeting. I felt that we had notified the public. I felt that we had some things to discuss.
I'm sorry, there's too much talk going on in the gallery, it's disruptive.
So, that there was things that we could discuss, and, you know, maybe we're not gonna get much done tonight, but I think that, we will have to have another special meeting here this week in order to get this.
Is Wing C available on the phone so she can talk to us and
Answer
explain?
questions?
Yeah,
Call?
yeah, go ahead.
Is that all right with the board right now?
Yeah.
Give her a call and have her brief us? Okay.
Or if it's locked, but it should not exceed that much. And then we're not gonna refund
Or you
it.
can open public
First
comment.
above
on
that,
that.
and
You can break it in between the public comment. Let's get some information first.
Ask Wing, see if these terms.
Yeah. Done a lot of work here. Yeah, this is a document.
Isn't it 20
During
because it's
this
like 20,
meeting,
20 to 20,
uh,
40.
There was
Same life.
Wing C,
It's gonna end up being
but I think better explain what Wing C is on.
Oh, so it's like,
No rules that Ernie does.
Just wait, see.
15 years.
I think she
Wing C,
Yes,
good evening.
it's me.
Well, it's the board and Wing C and the audience.
Virtual audience.
We're hoping you could just give us a briefing of what has transpired, just to update the board.
Hello,
Hello?
hello.
Wing C?
She's on her cell phone.
We get it.
Did you disconnect when you switched it around?
I didn't touch Ellen.
Looks like it's still connected on the screen.
Is the speaker still on?
Advantage of having the BBVA.
Oh, wait. No, have her start over.
Yeah, we didn't, I'm sorry, the speaker went out, so can you start over for us, please? It's on now, so.
Oh, okay. Something that some good news, which is that the district was successfully able to secure free bids. And by far the most aggressive was from BBVA. And the advantage to that also is that at this time the city is also considering using BBVA because they went through their own process for soliciting banks, and BBVA gave also a big benefit if they were able to go with both sides. So that's really, really great news. We were going to bring the item in front of the board to authorize issuance of the funds and to approve the form of documents. But I think we just need a little more time to work out, finish the document. So the bank has just given the district comments on the indenture, so we need to work through those. And then the city also is removing the documents. So they leave the documents for the indenture, which is basically the governing document for the bond. Then there is a private placement agreement, which is an agreement with the
Wing C, I'm more than happy to come back because of the importance of the issue. Do we have a deadline when a decision needs to be made?
So what happens because the city has drafted a total notice out to the 2006 bondholders, and so the city needs to feel comfortable enough with where we're at in the transaction to send that, or give instructions to the trustee to post that notice, probably by Thursday. But in terms of closing on the bond, probably the latest we would want to close is February 20th, because one, we need to close before the bond call date of March 1st, but the other reason is that the city and the district have locked a read-in for 30 days, which ends February 23rd. So we'll definitely want to close on February 20th. Yeah, any other?
Yeah, so you need a decision before Thursday, is that what I heard?
We need to be comfortable, or the city kind of needs to be comfortable enough to send out a representable notice, and I think we're in a good place. Again, we're just looking through the latest comments the city has sent on the refinancing agreement, because that was basically the agreement that the city and district have been coming together to try to work through. So, I mean, I think we'd be ready in a couple days to bring it back to the board.
What is the savings we're looking at to the district ratepayers with this new rate?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat it for me?
What are the savings that we're looking at to the district with this new rate?
Okay, good question. So we just had new numbers. I mean, there's still some details that need to get worked through. One being when we're going to close on these bonds. But if the district is still agreeable to the $2.5 million reserve contribution, so that takes into account that reserve contribution. Then we have net present value savings of $4.26 million, which is 15.88% of refunded bonds, still very high. And then we're looking at annual savings of about $520,000 annually through 2035. Again, that takes into account the $2.5 million contribution. So still really good savings. The rate that's gotten locked in is a 2.42.
Nice.
Ask your question.
Wow.
I had a question. The 2.5 million are of district cash reserves. Is that paying down the principal, or what does that mean that when you advance that 2.5 million?
So in essence, it gets contributed to the refunding, it contributed to the escrow. The same effect of prepaying, but instead of issuing bonds to prepay, the part of it is a cash contribution. And so your debt service is lower
Okay,
annually.
It's really like paying down the principal.
yeah, okay.
So the latest draft of the refinancing agreement has the district and the city coming together and discussing the Dale's customer.
And what does it say about that?
That the city and district will come together and discuss that. And discuss the proper definitions of sewer main. So discuss proper definitions and then determine customers based on those definitions.
You mean later on, after the refinancing, or before?
Allow well, can I take that one, C?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, I think our intention is to come to an agreement that allows us to go forward with the refinancing, agreeing to have a joint meeting between the district board and council to try to hammer this issue out. And And I think it's a bigger issue than the jail. It's really anytime a customer connects, how is that connection determined in what entity it's within? Yeah, so, I'm pretty sure there's probably another connection or two out there that's similar to the jail. And I'm pretty sure we're gonna run into that issue in the future where the buildings in the district and the connections in the city or vice versa. So my suggestion was, let's get together and make a rule book that fits every application. Okay,
Well,
so-
and what if we don't agree to that? What if the city wants every application, so it will be in their boundary, and we say we want the current application, which we believe sits in our boundary, and there's 10 of us sitting there that can't agree, which is exactly what's going to happen.
Well, then
So
maybe
what-
we form
what-
an ad hoc committee to hammer it out, or
But aren't you saying that there'd be protocols put in place to make those determinations? Isn't that what you're talking about?
Or our
That
protocol
will-
currently is to have a third party decide that and not drag it out for years between the two of us. That's what we're currently supposed to do. And now it looks like we're going to change that.
Okay.
And I just don't see how, because we've been discussing this for over a year now, this particular account, right? We paid an attorney to do all this investigative work that shows it's in the district. They say, no, it's not. And now I just don't want us to be held over a fire saying we are not going to allow you to refinance unless you agree to give us the jail account. That's what I don't want to see happen, and that's what I kind of feel like is happening.
That isn't what I heard Ernie say. Is that correct?
not now.
Okay.
I mean, it is our intention to try to work this out. I got this about an hour before this meeting. Now Donald can speak to what he feels this language is, and, the only thing that I see is that the district withdraws its claim for damages filed with the city on October 16th, 2019. Total agreement.
So we would withdraw our claim.
We would withdraw our claim.
So yes, so that's exactly what they're saying. Yes, we'll allow you, we'll reach this financing agreement, but you withdraw your claim. So from now on, do they hold it over us? So we withdraw every single claim and just let what happened in the past continue to happen? I mean, we've had over a year to work this out between the two bodies. And we've been looking forward to having a third party make a decision. What is not agreeable about a third party making the decision, right? The 10 of us are not going to come to a decision on this.
We've never tried though.
We have tried. Our staff has tried.
Not this board though.
Our staff has tried. This board, the staff of this board and the attorneys of this board have been trying for over a year. If you think sitting 10 people in a room is going to change that, I sat through a 5-year lawsuit and sitting 4 people in the room didn't change that. So
Can I ask a question?
we're looking at
Mr. Chair?
$8 million savings that,
I think that if I can interject for a moment, I think that the slight difference here is the methodology that Ernie has proposed in getting to that decision. So it's not a matter of just looking at the jail. If there are some definitions, right, that if we made those clear, could lead to a query on which customer is whose. Right, so defining zero main, zero lateral, zero service connection, we're hoping that will lead to more clarity than just what's been done so far.
So it's protocols for the future. Putting aside the jail for just now, it's protocols for the future so that we don't have to go through this all the time.
Exactly.
Okay, and we haven't seen it. So
but don't we have definitions of a lateral and definitions of a main now?
We certainly do.
And why aren't we using those definitions to figure this out?
Well, when we sit down with the council, we will
Well-
we will go over all of those.
But my point is, we have done all that work and we have sent all that work to the city, and they have turned back to us and said no. It's that thick, sent by our law office. What all the definitions are.
Sometimes board members can work things out better than lawyers and staff. In the public eye, you're in the public eye and you cooperate and you work on definitions, and sometimes it takes,
I'm all in favor of the boards getting together to try to resolve this. What I am not in favor of is having the city tell us in a document that they will not agree to the refinancing unless we agree to dismiss our claim.
Is that happening right now, or is that changed?
That is in the agreement, the
Well,
changes they sent over.
That was, I wrote a email to Sage laying out what I felt was agreeable, and this has changed. Like I said, I read it an hour ago. I'd like Donald to speak to the issues that hopefully we can tweak and make it, this has been a real sticking point, and I think that everyone's intention is to not have more litigation. Okay, so I'm trying to bring this to a methodology where we don't have any more litigation. I still feel that the last sentence that I started to read, I don't know if we want to completely throw out any arbitration because our operating agreement calls if we have disputes that we can go to that. And like you say, we might never come to an agreement. I want to give it every effort possible to not have anybody but the governing bodies try to resolve this. That's our goal.
Yeah, arbitration is an important thing to have in the agreement. I just, you understand, Donald, why it's difficult for all of us, because we haven't seen what was proposed to the city or anything else.
Exactly.
So we're all sitting here kind of blowing smoke, because we don't know,
Well, and I think, the problem is with the Brown Act, I can't convey that to everyone as we were working on this.
So an agreement was written by whom? Who wrote the initial agreement between the district and the city so that we could do this refinancing? Who wrote that?
I think,
The city bond council drafted.
The city drafted the original agreement.
the bond council.
The bond council. The bond council drafted the original agreement. And then that agreement was sent to the city when?
I don't think we know that.
Okay. And then the city bond council made changes to it, or the city manager made changes to it, the city attorney made changes to it and sent it back to us when?
I think it's gone back and forth between the city and our legal counsel, 3 or 4 times?
We got a draft of the agreement, I believe it was last week. I could be wrong there, but I know we did get a draft late last week. Friday we tried to work through some of the issues and we received a revised draft late this afternoon. I haven't had a chance to look at it. I've talked to the city's attorney about it, and I've briefly looked at what's written. I can comment on that, but it's just in draft form.
Can you please comment on what's written, since none of us have that document?
So, well, what I understand it to mean with respect to my conversations, or from my conversations with the city's attorney, my very brief review of it, is that with respect to the jail account, it is essentially phrased where the parties, the city and the district, agree that they shall meet in a joint session, one or more joint sessions, to discuss the meaning of the terms, as Ernie mentioned, mains and laterals and so forth, the issue with the connections, and that they may, but not shall, come up with a solution to any issues that may arise with respect to those definitions and how they're applied, and then they may implement those in terms of a process for determining how You use those definitions and apply them to a certain account, and that ends up determining who takes the revenue, who's responsible for the expenses associated with that account. With the jail in particular, what it says is that the district waives its claims that relate to the claim it filed last year associated with the jail account, and that it'll agree not to bring any claims associated with that account any further. What I understand in speaking with the city's council is that the parties can agree through the process I just described to arrive at definitions and the implementation of those definitions such that the jail account could become a district account or revert back to the district. But that won't necessarily be the case, and if it doesn't happen, then the account would remain a city account, as it's for this fiscal year, at least that's how it's held. That's my understanding. I could be incorrect on the intent with that, but as I sit here right now, that's
So it
what I believe is accurate.
eliminates arbitration, and eliminates our claim
For the jail account,
for the jail account.
it would, in my view, bar the right of the district to bring that issue back to light in the form of a alternate dispute resolution mechanism. It doesn't take out arbitration for all disputes that the district and city may have or anything else in the operating agreement, just as to this one issue.
So the jail would not be part of the process that has been discussed? Is that what you're saying?
No, it would
No,
be. It would be.
Okay,
It would not be it would not be subject to an arbitration process.
Oh.
If the city and district couldn't agree on the methodology and the definitions and such, it would stay, as I understand it, it would stay a city account. And if the district disagreed with that,
Too bad. We have no recourse.
unless there's some mechanism reached in terms of those definitions, that would make the jail account a city account based upon the facts of that connection.
Well, it would be my suggestion, and I don't know how the city can receive this, that we eliminate the jail terminology, and that, this instance could very easily arise on some other connection that's going the other way. Maybe we eliminate the jail and just go the connection, the customer connection, that we resolve that issue, and if that can't be resolved, then we could go to arbitration on any of those issues in the future. I'm having a hard time, that wasn't in my statement,
So,
that we were gonna
Quick
not
question,
be
I think,
able.
right, for Wing C, and maybe you can answer it too. Do our lenders care about this possible arbitration on this one account, or is it just the city bringing it up in this agreement?
Wing C?
We disclosed this issue to the bank, and they did ask for some more backup, they did discuss it with the credit committee, but the initial determination from the rate consultant was that the net impact of revenue was not material, about 14 to 20,000. So that's what we're going to convey to the bank, and they seem to say that's to satisfy their credit committee. But I think in general, I think the bank would support the effort of the city and district, generally speaking, working together, towards mutual resolution of the issue.
so when you say net, you're talking about whatever revenue comes into that account minus the expenses. That's what you're saying, it comes out to the net.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
it almost fully offsets itself, but there is a net, about the consultant said $14,000 to $20,000 net revenue.
Which hasn't been in our numbers because it hasn't been our account for a while now.
Yeah.
So when the banks are looking at our revenues right now, that's not included. So I think that's why it's not an issue for the bond issuers, because it's not in there now.
Well, it's a small enough amount that it doesn't
When
tip the scale.
tip it either way, whether you have it or not,
It's-
whether we get it or whether we don't.
I would just like to say, you know, working with the museum and the city, because the museum guild is separate. We negotiated every couple of years for how much the endowment and the guild would give to the city, because there's an annual donation. And we came up with, for the endowment and guild agreed on a formula. We went to the city and the council adopted this resolution for this formula. We haven't had to negotiate for 5 years now. It's wonderful because we all agreed to this formula. It sounds like that's what you're trying to do.
That's what we're shooting for.
Right, which would be great. Then it would be, there's an approved, agreed upon formula for how we determine where, like you said, whose territory each one of these is in. And if we can get to that point, I think it would take a lot of controversy away from.
And Ernie, if there's an account that seems to be interlocked by mains and whatever and right-of-ways, why can't, in the agreement, we agree to split it 50-50? If it's ambiguous and can't be well defined between the two entities, we just split.
I don't think we can do that. I think I think we can work it out. I believe that our, basically the city's viewpoint and mine is we don't want any more litigation. If we can avoid litigation, but I don't believe that we ought to remove the arbitration. I think we ought to release our claim. I don't think we ought to remove the arbitration, because like Teresa says, if it's just locked up, it's locked up. What are we gonna do? Yeah. And that's why I think we ought to remove the jail, because I think there's other accounts that could come in. That we need to have a clear roadmap for anyone that's taking in a capital improvement fee, to know whose customer that is. And we're missing one part of that puzzle, which is a definition of where it connects, I believe.
So Ernie, my question was, when does this meeting have to take place? Does it have to take place for our next meeting?
No, I think we're gonna have to, once all these documents are together, we're gonna have a meeting, like Week C said, probably Thursday.
Oh, what about the joint meeting?
That's actually what I'm asking.
Yeah.
The joint meeting is as soon as we can, the way I put it to the city was that as soon as possible, as soon as we can schedule it up. And I don't think it's contingent upon the refinancing being in the process. We ought to get on it. Let's get it over with.
Were there any other changes in the drafted agreement that raise red flags or a concern for the district?
Did you have a chance to read the capacity swap and have a better way of explaining that than Ernie will?
She there?
What do you see?
Maybe jiggle that back cord again or something.
What do you see?
Network down.
We lost what you see.
Because I'm seeing a lot of yellow and red on that sheet.
Here. And
You can use my phone if you wish. I don't know how good the speaker is.
basically, the city has agreed, in that document, there was some language that spoke to how the capacity ESSUs would be swapped in the event of, or accounted for in the event of detachment. And they have agreed to change it to what the operating agreement says and follow it. So, it's.
Wouldn't holding up the refi for the district also hold
She's
it up
trying
for
to
the
help
city?
you.
Don't let us go.
Well, the problem is that the city the city has to authorize the payment to a bank. And that's what needs to happen here by Thursday.
By Thursday?
So,
So
our time frame is not the same.
She's trying to call back. I guess I defer to David there about when that, since we lost Wayne C. or Donald, when that has to, when the instructions to A-Bag have to be issued.
That's gonna be a wing C question.
she said Thursday.
Well, I think somebody said Thursday. and-
Yeah, she said that something had to happen Thursday night. I guess the timeline.
David?
Oh,
Well, the 2006 bonds can only be refunded twice a year. And you have to give notice in advance of when you actually refund. And the deadline for this window is actually January 31, I think. But since that's a Saturday, the drop dead date would be Friday, and we're hoping to be able to do it, not at the very last minute. So probably Thursday.
Oh, that's when we do
Thank
it
you.
by Thursday, okay.
So we don't,
That makes-
Yeah.
I could just
Say-
call it back.
if it's okay if I could speak, just, I don't know if you want me to come up or if you want me, or you just.
Come on up.
Alright.
Why don't you open public
Let's
expression
go-
right
let's-
now?
Yeah. That's what's happening.
Well, Sanitation, I'm the city manager for the city of Ukiah, and first I want to recognize that both the city, as Wing City did, both the city and the district have been working very diligently to get to this point under incredibly crunched time frame. So in the best of worlds, we would have started a few months ago, but everybody has really come together to try to get everything in order. You know, so we've sent the city, and the city has sent with the district's review the provisional call notice to the trustee, and that's waiting to be released. Not because we're trying to hold it up or anything like that, or hold something as a negotiating point, but everybody in this deal has to feel comfortable with it. And if you're going to issue that provisional call to the bondholders, we have to have in good faith, all parties have to have in good faith, that we're actually going to be able to close the deal. And so part of getting there is getting the documents that we need to get approved in substantial form. And the resolution that both the city and the district will have before it, the one that you have, basically says that these agreements will be in substantial form. However, there's still going to be changes that are going to be made as we get closer to the close, and that's because there's going to be back and forth between the bank. There may be more back and forth between.
Hi, Wing C, you're back on.
Okay, sorry about that.
Between the hi, Wing C, this is Sage. I'm speaking. Sorry.
Hi, Sage.
Hi. And so it allows for everybody to have good due diligence in getting to that closing. So the documents that you'll have before you won't be in perfect form, but they should be in well enough form that you would have a level of comfort to be able to approve the resolution and provide direction to, I'm assuming, the district chair to make changes or authorize changes within those documents to get to close, which is all of that is very, very typical. And again, I want to emphasize the point that both the city and the district are operating under this very crunched timeline, and everybody is working very hard to get there. Speaking directly related to the jail and the language that's being proposed within it, it's been all language within the financing agreement between the city and the district over the course of the past, 2 weeks or so. I can't even remember which version, has been sent back and forth. There's been a lot of versions. There's been great conversation, great discussion, working through what needs to be in that agreement in order to give both the district and the city comfortability to work out things that weren't fully understood when we did the operating agreement, because the operating agreement didn't even really consider a private placement refunding, side of it. And we've been very fortunate to get a deal for both the city and the district that will have substantial rate savings, that's in place. And so the other thing that puts us under a crunch is that if we don't get this deal done, it's not going to look good for either the city or the district moving forward. So we really we're at this point of being committed to really getting it done.
And then with regards to the language in there, we don't, and I agree with the chair, we want to eliminate any levels of fight, you know, and having claims currently against or, threatened or otherwise, we want to get beyond that.
Sage,
So-
why even put the jail in this agreement?
Well, I'm getting-
Why, no, I have to ask you. So our district has been working on this for months and months and months. This wasn't a last minute thing for us. Maybe we notified you later in the game, but we've had Wing C and others working on this for a very long time. When it fell through and we tried to do it with the city a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago. So we've been working on this a long time. This has not been a last minute ditch effort for us, first of all. And second of all, we're looking at $7.8 million savings just on our side. So I would think your side would be at least $7 million as well. So why would you even put one specific account into an agreement that could hold up a $14 or $15 million savings to the people of this valley? Why not just take that out completely and let's say, you know what, we'll work on this together, but let's not make it part of refinancing. Let's reach an agreement that will work on it, that we'll have a joint meeting, that we'll try to work it out outside of arbitration. But you're putting it in a finance agreement.
I can answer that, Teresa. The reason we have to divulge that to the bank.
It was divulged to the bank and our bank doesn't care. So therefore, why is it in a financing agreement other than to hold the fire to us?
So, can I answer the question?
Yeah.
So, we don't want the claims or anything within the financing agreement. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for the city. It doesn't look good for the district. What we do want is to be able, and what we have had to demonstrate to the funders, both the district and the city as we went through this, that there's these good faith efforts that we work through these things. The litigious history between the district and the city was a mark against us as we were going through the private placement offerings. Probably deferred at least one funder from funding based upon, what I know and the questions that were asked. And so we're very fortunate to have some funders that are willing to, at a good rate, come in and work with us. So we don't want any of those things hanging over us. And I think that the proposed language, there's a lot of things within the financing agreement that wouldn't be part of a typical deal. So we've all had to come together and
So
work
what else is in there that I don't know about?
compromise and make sure that we get in there what the bank wants to see so that we can have a clean
Okay, our
deal.
bank said they don't care about that, but yet it's in there.
Let me continue. So the compromise on the language in there basically allows us to go through a protocol to eliminate any of these fights in the future. It also allows us to resolve that issue.
Oh.
And we're perfectly fine with suggesting some level of arbitration if there is disagreement between the two. That wasn't part of the language that we thus exchanged, but we are willing to consider some level of arbitration. That way we don't have claims hanging over us. We're all moving outside of litigation, and we're bringing the city and the district together to resolve
Okay, but
issues.
your language that you changed in this document says that if we cannot reach an agreement between our two bodies, we have no claim.
So, no, that's not the case.
May I read it to you? I mean, it's in bright yellow in front of me.
So again, this is...
Are you telling me that you're willing to change this?
So the district and the city have been going through a number of iterations with regards to the agreement. And not having outstanding claims that basically mimic litigation, right, as opposed to collaboration and cooperation, we think is a bad deal. We think it's a bad message to send to our ratepayers. It's a bad message to send between boards. But coming up with language that allows us to set protocols in place where we can work through these issues without future arbitration, without future litigation, is the goal. And so we are absolutely willing to consider language within the agreement that is there now to go beyond, if the district and the city can't come to an agreement on how to define something or how to accounts one or the other, you know, we could come to language that, that has a level of arbitration associated with it. I would recommend, in fact, I think we, you know, I was talking to the city attorney, I would recommend, you know, even a faster, cleaner process to arbitration that would be less costly for the city and the district. And we would like to be able to explore that with, you know, district council, district chair, and, you know, bring that language back to the board. So again, the two agencies have been working very well and diligently together to get to this point. And everybody has had to look at things that weren't clearly defined, right? And come to terms with what works for both parties. A successful agreement is something that works for both parties. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I just, before you go, I guess I want to ask the chair, I mean, part of the concern here is we haven't seen any of this, so that's why it's a concern. And we understand about it not being made public because you're negotiating and all that, but that's why there's issues. Did you want to get this agreement finalized before Thursday, or is it going to be finalized after Thursday?
No, we want to have this, we need to have this refinancing agreement finalized by Thursday.
Okay, great. So you've heard our concerns and what we're concerned about and so forth, and I think what you've said kind of fits in with what our chair has said.
What I said in the beginning is that we need some methodology, whatever that may be, to resolve a dispute that we can't resolve within ourselves. And, you know, the goal of this was to remove the litigation from it and try to work it out between the two bodies.
So it sounds like the city manager feels like it's going towards that, and you said you felt it was going towards that. Do you think it can be resolved on Thursday?
I hope so. I mean, that's our hope, but, you know, I had a long discussion with the mayor on Sunday about this, and this is, or Saturday, this is pretty much what we came up with in order to make the city council believe that we don't have intentions to continue to litigate things, and we want to try to work it out amongst the bodies with just the bodies. Maybe we don't have staff, maybe we don't have lawyers, maybe we just all sit down and see if we can read through the definitions and make them better. That was what Mayor Crane and I talked about.
Definitely.
Wing C, are you still there?
I can say tonight, you know, the concerns that that other district board members have said about, you know, adding some specific arbitration language. I think that we could actually, it's not difficult, it's not hard to do, that we could get a revised draft of that to you this evening, tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
See, the city
Well,
manager always
we
says
can-
now, right? Let's get it done now.
We can just get the pen and strike it out right now, and it'll be done.
But, yeah, so I think we, at least three of us, it sounds like arbitration is an important thing to have in there. So, and I guess if you're going to be sitting in, and working on this, do you feel that there can be an agreement by Thursday then also, based on where you are so far?
I do. We had some other outstanding issues that we being the two groups talked about as the city manager said over the last week, and it sounds to me, based upon my conversations with the city attorney and my very brief review of this revised agreement, that some of those have fallen away. Some of those fell away this morning during a conference call. It sounds like some of them fell away in the interim. So if this is the only remaining issue, then I think there's a decent chance
We're really
that could
close.
be
We're
done.
really close, okay.
Can I ask a question, Winsing? Wing C, sorry. Page 2.
Yes, yes.
Page 2, the third paragraph down, when we're talking about the district has determined its best interest of the district and its customers based on a rate study. blah, 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 for refunding bonds series 2020 to refund its payment obligation under the financial agreement in the amount of 55% of the installment payments secured in the 2006 bonds. So is the first year 52%, and then we're gonna change our amount to 55% of the total amount of, what does that statement mean there?
So actually, the new allocation is 54%, 46%. And, yeah, that does mean that after March 1st, 2020, that the district's agreeing to this new allocation. So the impact of that, the change from the operating agreement is 4 months. And so that was one of the issues that came onto the table that the district, I think, is considering. Basically after this March 1st, 2020 payment, we do ratchet the allocation to 54%.
And that's based on ESSUs?
That was based on the rate study consultants.
And then it can change year to year depending on who gets more accounts and uses more ESSUs and things, right? It's not going to be static through the whole length of the refi.
It will be trued up
So
annually.
the
Yeah.
split of the outstanding debt is 54-46, so that is the district, what they're refunding, but there will be true-up payments made at the end of each year.
Okay, and then after that next, there's a comma, and then it said to fund a reserve fund. So approximately how much would the reserve fund be?
The lender is requiring 25% of the maximum annual debt service.
Okay, and then paying costs of issuing the bonds, what are those, like closing costs when you're securing a house? So what would the costs of issuing the bonds be approximately?
It will be approximately $300,000.
Okay, those were my.
And yes, it's for all of the costs, all in costs of this final one.
Okay, thanks.
And I just want to highlight that this, again, is a very successful point that we've reached with the city and the rate that we're getting. And I think that, this has been a long time coming. It's been, at least since I've been on, a couple of years. And we're so close to the finish line. I think we really want to cross it together, because I think if we kind of wait to the next call date, we don't really just push back the call date and lose savings. But I think this might be the last bite of the apple, because if we keep going, I think that the hair on the wheel, I'm not sure that's what we want to look at.
And it's a great rate, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good.
Great rate.
I think to phrase Wayne C's statement there a little differently, I think that if this doesn't go through, that we're gonna have a real hard time procuring professionals like Wayne C and the others that have been working on this to take another look at it.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty much, we need to get her done.
She's been working on this for 2 years.
Well, it's very, I gotta say, it's comforting, if that's the right word, to hear that the parties that are negotiating are so close. And that even the attorney feels like
I'm right there.
we're right there, yes, so thank you for your,
And parties, just so you know, have been working day and night through the
I
weekend
bet.
and so forth to get it done. And so we do appreciate the collaboration and the work between the two agencies. And the city council will be, we do want to get these things again approved in substantial form. And so we'll be meeting, calling a special meeting on Thursday at 4 o'clock. We have another meeting that's scheduled at 5:30. It's a meeting between the city council and the planning commission on the general plan. So they're going to meet Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So it's it all has to come together very quickly, and our bond council feels that we need to have these documents in substantial form in order to be able to have the good faith effort to release that provisional call to the existing bondholders.
So will the city's documents be on the website?
Starting tomorrow, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as soon as we release the agenda, we were shooting for today, but as, you know, everybody was shooting for
Yeah.
an earlier time. But again, these documents are, you know, they're not easy to put all together, and so there's a lot of people putting everything together. And again, I think we are very, very close, and it sounds like maybe some of the discussion tonight will help us put it over the finish line. So we appreciate that very much.
Thanks, H.
Thank you.
Anyone else with a public comment?
So what's our next step?
Our next step, I believe, will be to schedule another special meeting for Thursday, where all of these documents are finalized, and hopefully we can get them Wednesday to be able to review.
But the city has their meeting on Thursday as well.
No,
they
Wednesday.
have theirs
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So we really need Wednesday.
So they should be, if the city's going to approve them, they should be finalized by Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So we ought to have some, pretty intense reading to do. But I think, you know, everybody's worked really hard on this. The city's been working day and night. I've been working considerably on it, and I hope that everybody's happy with the progress we've made. I think we've made big headway, and we had about 4 points that were pretty much the stumbling block, and I think we've worked it down to hopefully none if we can leave some avenue for resolution other than discussion between the two governing bodies. I think that we have a deal.
So, is Wednesday a regular meeting or a special meeting for the city?
It's a special, isn't it?
A special meeting?
Special
You
meeting
can
for the
just say
city.
it from there.
With one item, and this is it?
I think it's all the intent, I think it's the refinancing agreement, the indenture, the whole Mary Ann, right? Everything.
So when
Listen.
their meeting's over, we should be able to get those documents immediately
We
that they
should-
approved.
Should have them before.
We should have them before.
Well, I mean, but they hopefully won't be making changes to them, right? I mean, if they make change,
Some documents are between the district and the city, some documents are
Just
district owned,
bank,
some
yeah.
documents are city
Right.
owned. So you're gonna have different documents.
I
you're
guess
approving.
this is the one I'm concerned about. I don't want this document to hold up $15 million in savings, you know?
That's our intention.
It's a special meeting of the city council at 4, and again, we're trying to meet, so the provisional call notice has been delivered to AVAG, the trustee, you know, basically the trustee of the existing debt. That will get released the second that we all feel comfortable, you know, and so that's what we all have to feel comfortable before that gets released. We're not going to unilaterally release it until everybody is together. The financing agreement, again, is something that is required. That's a required document of issuances like this.
So you're gonna have a closed session, or is it all open?
So we'll do all open. A lot was based upon everything that was taking place. So
Okay, great.
I don't think we have any problems with doing a completely open session to mirror
I think-
the district.
Only litigation is closed session. I don't think documents like this can be in closed session.
It's just that way we can hear it all, which is good.
Can we schedule our special meeting now so we can get it put in place? Please?
How about 6 o'clock? Is 6 o'clock Thursday too late?
No, I can do it.
Thursday, 6 o'clock? Everyone can
Does
make it?
anyone want to do it earlier?
I'm in depositions.
You can't make it for
To
6?
extent I need to be here.
Oh, not earlier.
Yeah, you're tied up. So.
You're tied up
6
Thursday at
o'clock
6?
I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah,
I'm in,
tied
no,
up.
no, no, 6 o'clock's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, earlier I'm tight.
Not earlier.
It is clear.
Dawn
Okay.
has no free time.
okay,
I'm
so
fine with that.
6 o'clock Thursday?
So that's January 30th.
And you'll post that, Chelsea?
Yeah. I can post it even tomorrow. I think it's just gonna be the same wording and everything, it's just we're gonna have all the documents when we meet next.
I'm again concerned about timing and being able to release, and I don't know, Wing C,
Hello?
We see?
Yes, I'm still here.
Hi, this is Sage. I just wanted to ask, is Thursday going to be too late to be able to give notice of that provisional call? Or do we need to, because part of this is each of the boards taking action and making sure that all of our people have the right amount of time to be able to get all of the stuff in and transmitted that needs to be transmitted. So, so that's why Wednesday we felt was kind of like the latest time period to do it, but.
I think we've already sent,
Yeah, I mean,
authorized the form of
don't
notice,
need the
and it's
board
just
to
an email from us
authorize
to them
on
to release.
to, you know, as long as the district's comfortable that we're all in good faith, we're gonna close, then I think the district should be comfortable with the city sending a rescindable call notice, because it is rescindable.
So it'd be Friday morning though. Yeah. Thursday.
Right, we are ready again to send that. I just don't, I mean, I don't want to wait till the last minute, you know, on things, so.
I don't think you need our approval though to send that, right?
So our bond
Already have
counsel,
your approval.
our bond counsel from both, right, sides, right, needs to make sure that these agreements that we have are in substantial form, right? That's the only way we have good faith, that we're all there. You wouldn't want us to act unilaterally, and we don't want you to act unilaterally. We all want to acting, you know, together on this. So
I think she said Thursday for us was okay, didn't you?
Wingsy, did you say Thursday was okay for the board to issue the resolution?
It's Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Yes, I mean, as long as the district should be okay, like, if you could just, you know, in this discussion, it sounds like if that arbitration is allowable and kept open for the discussion on customers, then the board agrees that we're gonna work towards closing. That should give enough comfort for the rescindable call notice. But yeah, I mean, if you're saying, if Sage is saying he needs board approval and authorization of the bonds and final form of documents, it is cutting it a little bit close. Technically the 31st is the very last day, but I think Cameron, city's bond council, really wants it on the 30th, which is
Well,
probably when we should send it.
can we
Can we
bump
meet
it up to
Wednesday?
Thursday morning?
Well, here's the deal,
we.
we can have a meeting Wednesday evening,
Okay.
but we can't have them change the document during their meeting. Because then we would be approving a document that they've changed. So as long as we, both sides agree to the document ahead of time and it's coming to our boards for approval, then we can both have meetings Wednesday evenings.
Yeah, so if yours is at 4, ours could be at 7
6.
or 6 or whatever, but
that would be great, and we could have a representative. We do have some stuff that's really tied up in the other, but we could have a representative here at this meeting.
And you understand that the majority of this board feels that arbitration is very important and crucial. And that you agreed to eliminate that wording that was in that revision.
I haven't agreed to eliminating the wording that's in the revision. I agreed that we would modify it and add a pathway for arbitration in there.
Okay,
But-
because it says
but
right
I
now
want-
that it would all be
but-
dropped and we would not have arbitration.
We'll add the arbitration language in there, but the claim on the jail is, I want to be very clear, will be dropped, and we will have the pathway forward for all accounts. And if there's disputes with regards to how we do wording within that section or specific accounts, there are arbitration procedures that would be afforded to both parties.
For all accounts.
Yes.
So the-
Jail included.
Yes,
But
we're
the-
not identifying
but
one
the
account.
claim
so-
is dropped, but it would be part of this process
We're
that
gonna
you guys are.
relook at it.
Yeah.
All
But
accounts
here's
will
what
be part of
happened.
that part.
Here's what happens
Yeah.
though when you drop the claim. So how long ago did we file this claim? Shortly after we reached that new agreement. Shortly after we reached our new agreement, our new operating agreement said that we would work this out. It was in our agreement that we would work this out. We were unable to work it out. So we had to file a claim. If you don't file a claim, you don't get any of the past revenue if you find that it's our account. So we had to file a claim. So we filed a claim. So that whatever happens, if it's theirs, they keep it, they keep all the money. But if a third party decides that it's our account, from the date we filed the claim, we get the revenue for that. So now what they're saying is you will drop the claim. So we will have everything we've done to this point on that account is gone.
No, we have a lot of information that the attorneys have put together for a future claim if you
She's
need
talking
to.
about past revenue.
Yeah, but it's been a
Yeah,
couple of
We
years.
have to see the language.
which is about $100,000 or more.
It's not, as
But
you've
when you
already
process-
said, the difference between the expenses and the revenues are not that much. And really, if we're gonna develop a process to move forward, so when we do find accounts that go one way or another, it really should be, you know, unless the boards come together and agree otherwise, more prospective with regards to how you resolve it than diving back 5, 10, 50 years to resolve something.
Nobody's
with-
going back 50 years. We're going back to the day we signed an agreement that said we would settle this.
And that's what we're trying.
And you're forcing us to drop it.
Again, we're not forcing anything. What we're trying to do is work together to move best forward for both agencies. And I could appreciate maybe you and I will agree to disagree on this issue, and that's perfectly fine. But what we are trying in good faith in this refinancing agreement. Again, we had parties come to the table with multiple issues, both sides, the city and the district. And so there's been give, take, discussion. How do you work through this issue to come with the final document? The document you see now before you, it's not final, but in the draft form it is. And just because one section's highlighted, we have probably 4 or 5 other versions that have red lines all through.
I know. I would certainly like to see what we've given up.
So that's I don't
What
know.
has been negotiated? It went from 52 to 54, and what else is happening in this document that I haven't seen?
Well, we need to
I
ask
just-
her to chair that because he's the one that's been negotiating it.
It went
You know?
from 52 to 54, Teresa, because of the fact Mark Hildebrandt's rate study determined that should be the distribution. Okay, so we can arbitrate or have problems with it, or we can go with their recommendation. And annually, we're gonna go through the expenditures and the revenues, and the flows from the various entities, and we're gonna true up that process. So I don't think that we've given up anything. I think we're gonna spend a little more right now on Mark Hildebrandt's rate study information, maybe, or we're gonna pay the true amount. If we pay more than we should have, that'll come out in the true up. So I don't think we're not giving up a thing.
I don't understand why the jail has to be in this agreement. Why can't it just say, we will negotiate all accounts, any account that has a question, like you recommended?
That was the way I put it. My version of this did not have the jail. It had all accounts. So,
It's because we don't want to repeat this issue all over again.
yes, that's my goal.
So that's the goal.
We understand that.
Right, thank
We
you.
understand that, yes.
That's been my goal
So
too.
they're gonna come back with a document that says,
No,
we drop our claim, or they're not going to allow us to refinance. That's what he just stood and said that document is going to say. So we need to all go home and think about it and say, okay, we're dropping our claim, so for the benefit of all, right? But I just feel like this is shiesty.
no, I
I
don't
feel
believe
like
that,
it's
I don't
shiesty.
believe that that's what he said. I believe that we're going to have a mechanism. What I wanna see is that we're gonna have a mechanism to resolve any dispute over any account, regardless whether it's the jail
Right.
or, the new shopping mall that goes
Right.
in at the old,
And we
Ball
will
field
drop
or-
our claim to the jail.
we
that
will
filed.
drop our claim now for the jail.
And revisit it.
And if it has to be revisited, it could be revisited. And, I don't believe that the amount of revenue after discussing with Winksy and the other experts, Hildebrand, the amount of revenue that we would be giving up by dropping our claim is probably somewhere around $15,000.
Well, then why are they fighting so hard to keep it?
Uh,
Why didn't, why?
To me,
Avoid litigating over something.
Why?
to
No.
avoid litigating over
No,
other.
why didn't they just give it to us a year ago when we filed a claim? Why have they been fighting a year and a half?
I can't
If
answer
it's
that.
piddly, if it's nothing. I mean, okay, that's fine.
Just wanna-
We all know it's coming down the pike.
The-
No public
The, board,
expression was
the
closed.
boards have not had an opportunity to get together and discuss this. We have not had a joint meeting. And so, you know, this is, again, getting beyond and getting our boards together for the benefit of all of our ratepayers moving forward and to avoid costly litigation. No one wants to repeat those mistakes in the past.
Thank you.
Here, here.
Okay, so have we changed the date of our meeting to Wednesday then, at 6?
Wednesday at 6 p.m., does that work for
Let's
everybody?
change it to Wednesday at 6,
Does that work for
if
everybody?
it works for everybody.
January 29th.
It will be the same morning, right? Just like the document. Yes. Perfect. It's easy.
Okay, well, I don't know if we have, anybody else have any further business? You know, I wanna, like I said, I wanna have this meeting for this discussion that we've had tonight. And hopefully, once, you know, Teresa, you need to get this agreed at all. I think that we have made a very good deal for both parties, except for that
Well,
last sentence.
I think,
about, and if we have a mechanism that can resolve it if we're deadlocked, I don't see a problem.
I think this board needs, I think the most important document that would be scrutinized would be the agreement between the city and the district. You know, the documents for the banks and those
That's-
are, what,
that's-
those are
That's
fine.
the financing.
Right, the
agreement,
indenture, the private placement agreement, you know,
Here, you want
where, when we last tried to refinance with the city, they tried to put us into an agreement where we gave up 100% of everything. And that's what I just don't want to happen this
That's
time,
not happening this time.
you know?
Don,
See, the
interject.
problem is, have you seen that before?
No, I have not.
That's
No, so all of us need to receive this
Yeah.
tomorrow
That
morning.
was created at 5 o'clock this afternoon. That's
Okay.
why nobody's seen it.
Okay,
That was sent to me at 5 o'clock in an email.
so we'll get
It
it.
wasn't like I was just hanging on to
Is
it,
that
Well, I mean,
correct?
not to have
We'll get
everybody
it before we
well
make our
informed. We
decision
don't-
on
Oh, yes,
Wednesday.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I
it'll
mean,
be
I fully intend to
revised.
work through the draft, and I'll talk to the city's attorney about that. I hear the district's concerns, and I'll talk with the chair, and you'll have a document in advance to review, of course.
Like tomorrow, Tuesday, 24 hours before?
I have the other two.
As quickly as we can. I'm not the only one working on it, obviously, the city attorney is as well.
We're gonna see it tonight, all right?
Julie, I have the other two,
Tomorrow
just not the
morning.
refinancing agreement. But I think that's the
Okay.
one that you guys care more about.
Well, maybe you can just email us the other two, just.
Yeah, anything
I
we
can just
agree-
forward it to you in the morning. Does that
Chelsea,
work?
anything we can read in advance?
I can just
Yeah.
forward it now.
Appreciate.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that way we'll have those two out of the way.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn this meeting, and we're going at 7:16, and we will have our next special meeting at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, which would be
January 29th.
the January 29th.
Meeting adjourned.
And we are adjourned.
Yes.
Thank you.
Gotta say the magic words.
Those are the